I hope you like my little intro animation. It's a Bigfoot that's running across a paddock, chased by a UFO, and soon to be abducted. Because aliens don't just abduct humans, but also cattle and other creatures, according to some of the researchers. I guess cattle mutilations will have to be another episode. Apparently 500,000 people go missing in the United States every year. So could some of that be also related to aliens abducting and not returning people? Or just serial killers or murderers out there? Bit scary thinking about it all. Of course you've heard of that 411 guy that talks about people going missing in national parks. Who are the key researchers in the alien abductions research field? Well, the first one here is Bud Hopkins, who's now dead at the age of 80. He did a lot of research in the physical evidence side of things. He believes that the aliens are integrating into our society called humbrids, which is human hybrids, to take over the planet. So he sees alien abduction and the research that aliens are doing to take over the planet from within, I guess. Well, other researchers like John Mack, he calls positives, because they believe that aliens are a positive influence to try and get us to stop nuclear weapons and nuclear research, and stop the wars and suffering, and focus on human health and spiritual ascending, and of course to look after the planet better than we have, not destroy the forests and destroy the water and the atmosphere with pollution, which kind of makes sense, but people are greedy in the world and everything's about money. Here's David Jacobs. He's the one that's also similar to Hopkins. He's still going. He's 74 years old, and he sees the same views as Hopkins, that the aliens are here to do negative stuff and gradually take over the planet, colonize it. Here we have Dr Leir Sprinkle. He's the first one to link human abduction cases to cattle mutilation, and a key researcher in the field. And of course we got Dr Dr Leir, a surgeon that removed alien implants and researched the physical evidence side of things. He also died recently in 2014 from shingle related illness. And lastly, a retired professor, Don Dory, who did some statistical analysis on abduction cases to see whether there are patterns and prove that the alien abduction is a real phenomenon. Here's a list of the key abductee cases. Some of the names you should recognize, well known in the UFO community, like Shriver, and of course Travis Walton from the movie Fire in the Sky, which apparently wasn't very accurate, so they're making a remake of the movie. And of course you got these other ones about the guys being abducted on a lake, and other famous cases there. Betty and Barney Hill abduction case, which everybody's probably sick of hearing about. And then you got Ella Gush abduction, and that's the one with the 4 men on the lake, of course. So that's just a few of the famous cases. As you can see, according to this stat here, 2,500 people report being abducted every year in America, and they don't know how many don't report any incidents, and they reckon that 2% of the American population have been abducted, according to some surveys, and that equates to, I think it was 6 million people in the United States have been abducted, or claim they have been. So now we look at the facts of alien abductions and also the skeptical view on alien abductions and see where the actual truth is. Here's a famous quote from Dr. Leir, the ufologist. He says, "Science is not always what scientists do," meaning that they often are corrupted by money and contracts and also ignore factual information to try and get their own agendas, like proving Big Bang Theory or whatever the theory is or case. After thousands of cases, Dr. Jacobs' conclusion in these findings, this is a brief conclusion summary. You can watch the full video in the description. There's many documentaries out there on abductions that will take hundreds of hours to watch. First off, this is a list of things the skeptics say out there, the standard shrinks. Mental issues, frontal lobe liability, fantasy prone, poor memory, sleep paralysis. Now we get that one quite a bit. And this is the truth. It can't be sleep paralysis because if you remember that abduction about the guys being on a canoe rowing, people abducted in groups of up to 6 people who can re-account each other's experience and seeing the other person being abducted. Also, half the abductions occur during daytime, such as driving a car, fishing, running, walking, and also driving a tractor is one case, a farmer. Now that gives a good question. What happens to these cars while they're driving it? Does they simply, the motor to stall and they end up on the side of the road? And also the tractor, I suppose that the engine gets killed like you see in the movies, the EMF burst or whatever it is that kills the engine. Skeptics say no one sees these people being abducted. Wrong again. There has been instances of people seeing people being abducted and not being abducted themselves. And also there's cases where people are missing for hours or days and people have searched all around, including the house, and there's been cases where they suddenly appear back in the house sleeping on the couch when they have already checked that location. When they return, they often have missing items of clothing, watches, inside out, backwards, and also they come back with scars and scoop marks, which we'll cover more in a minute. Sometimes when they return, they're driving on the wrong side of the road, locked outside their houses and don't have the keys on them. Of course, the skeptics will say they went sleepwalking and locked themselves out or fell asleep at the wheel. When they put under various psychological tests, MPI, they all come back with sound memory, sound mind, no mental problems. They also come from anywhere in the world, doesn't matter what country, race, man, female, child, age, and also they come from all walks of life, from doctors, military people, ordinary people, covers the whole range. Many of the cases describe the same things that makes their stories sound falsified or crazy. They describe the same things they see in the room, the sounds, the beings with the black eyes, tall grey, short greys, which we'll talk about in a minute. Now, the point that Jacobs is making here is that if people are going to tell a fake story about abduction, why do they have the same crazy out there facts for each of the cases which are similar. Abductions don't seem to be random events. They occur over generations, where grandparents, parents and children and their children and children of the children being abducted, going back 60 years. The skeptics say hypnosis is not a reliable tool. However, many of the cases with the similar facts are often reported without any hypnosis at all. So that debunks that one. Also remember, a lot of these cases were done before it was well publicised on the internet and TV about what people saw, and these studies go back a long way. As Jacob says here, that if it's not alien abductions, it's got to be a remarkable mental study for shrinks to get their teeth into, but none of them are actually interested in the field, because it's a modern phenomenon that started back in the early 60s with Betty and Barney Hill abduction case. And he says it's also a career killer, studying aliens, or you won't get promoted ever again. So if you're interested in the field, do it later in life once you've got to a status in your job. All witnesses can draw what creatures they saw, and these are the common ones taken from a selection. You got the humbrids, which are human hybrids, often called Nordics, so-called tall blondes. We have the insect creatures, mantis, and also we got the small greys and tall greys. There doesn't appear to be any social rank depending on the species. All workers can be any of them, and from the research seems that they're not interested in humans, politics, religion and other commerce. Here's an interesting study they did. This guy Don Dory did a statistical analysis on it, which is quite complex, to determine if they could tell whether a abductee were telling the truth, and formed a grouping. And they did this by doing a control group that didn't believe in UFOs or aliens, and just randomly selected from the population, and also a group of people that they said had to imagine they had been abducted and answer the questions like they had been abducted. And then they did a group of, I think it was 26 abduction cases, and asked the same questions. And here you can see on the charts that they formed distinct groupings, which proved if an abductee was telling the truth, it would always fall inside the same grouping, which was quite an interesting thing. Unfortunately, the full study and information on this and charts that you can actually read properly are all in a book that you have to buy for about $20. So yeah, it's all about making money, I guess, to pay for all the research, because they reckoned this research cost $150,000. Okay, this brings us to the last segment on the physical evidence gathered, and here we can see various wounds, scoop marks, and strange pattern of dots on various people, different ages and colour skin. They all seem to form regular patterns like triangles. Were they taking skin samples? There's more questions than answers, I guess.